Well, Joel, I think it's safe to say that the Canadian wilderness inspires anybody who spends time outside.
You are right.
Our next guest loves to spend time with Mother Nature. She's a gifted paddler and an astute observer. They say that the leaves on the trees trust the natural process and surrender, knowing they will be born again in the spring. We come here into nature to see our own lives mirrored, to find a touchstone, a reminder that life really is simple and beautiful. The complications and busyness are the ingredients we add. Experienced paddlers like Lynette Chubb see nature as their grounding and their playground.
My dad immigrated from Wales, and he was a sailor in Wales, and so he really missed being on the water when he came over here, and so he bought a canoe and loaded his kids into it and taught us all how to paddle. So I've been paddling since I was a kid. Just the feel of the paddle sliding through the water, and how peaceful and rhythmic it is, and the smell of the pines, and it's just a wonderful way to spend any extra time you've got.
Lynette has covered a lot of territory in Canada powered by her paddle. When she returns to her home in Ottawa, she always takes a little of the wilderness with her in her imagination. Lynette came up with the term AcrylArt to describe what she creates, producing colorful art on sheets of acrylic.
People assume that it's stained glass when they see it, and I have to make them actually feel behind it, to feel the smoothness of the backside, that it's actually all one piece of acrylic. And from that makes them understand it, or I will pick a piece up off the wall and bend it for them. And that really gets the idea through, that it's plastic, but in this case it's a museum grade acrylic that I'm using. So it's designed to go in a window, and it's designed to take direct sunlight. It will never yellow or craze with age.
Lynette dabbled in stained glass when her full-time job was in the graphic arts field. She found it frustrating when she wanted to do larger pieces. She'd have an idea in her mind of what she wanted to see, but couldn't find the glass she needed to create it.
15 years ago, maybe, my mom came back from Britain with a few of the supplies. And that's where they started doing it, is over there, because everybody has to have stained glass over in Britain. So it kind of evolved from there into what now for me is an art form, where I'm using this stick-on lead tape, but I'm just incorporating it into the painted surface that I add to the museum-grade acrylic. I've been creative since I was a kid. You could never get colored pencils out of my hands when I was a kid. And I ended up evolving into being a preprint design person. And that ended up being mainly working with text rather than colored pencils. So once I had children and was at home for a while, I ended up looking into all kinds of options of colorful things to do with my life, but things that I could actually make a living with, possibly, as well. And it took a number of years to go through a number of different options before I found this medium, which suits me and the way my brain works. The joy of using paint in this process is that I can mix the colors to get exactly what I want. In this piece, I've gone through the entire spectrum, the prism of colors, from red at the top to deep purple at the bottom, and being able to use every color in the rainbow. And those little bubbles in the center are the moons passing across this planet that came to me in a dream.
Lynette's dreams are a subtle and powerful force, as are Celtic symbols from her Welsh heritage and the images she encounters in nature. These are the sparks that fire what Lynette describes as her transparent paintings.
The acrylic is actually more optically pure than glass, and all of the colors and textures that you see on my work are painted onto the surface by me. I work out of my home, which is a really big advantage in many ways. Some people would think that it doesn't allow you to get away from your work, but this isn't the type of work that you want to get away from. But it makes things so much more flexible, and the flexibility of the lifestyle is really worth it for me.
Although her finished work does resemble stained glass, the process is completely different. Lynette starts with what's called the cartoon stage, where she draws her images directly onto the brown paper backing of the acrylic. She can also lay out any other media like glass or stones she wants to use in the piece to get a better idea of how it will look when it's completed. Then she cuts and peels back the paper where she wants to apply color. Lynette works in a sealed painting room in her basement and wears a mask to do the job because some of the paints she works with, while they're guaranteed not to fade, are also toxic. Once the paint is dry, Lynette takes it back to her studio to start leading.
When I'm all by myself in the studio doing this leading, which gets tedious after a while, I often listen to books on tape. They're free at the library, and I get to listen to a lot of books that way.
Enriching her own life while she enriches our lives sounds like a fine arrangement. It can take a few hours or hours upon hours to create these designs in lead.
Every window in my house has something in it, simply because I've got so much to show. This piece I call Vine Wine, and I've used glass to create the grapes and the shadow, different colors of glass to create the shadows in the grapes. I have an amazing collection of these glass globs. I can get a real sense of shadow and gradients between the colors of the glass globs that I can use.
Lynette's designs range from small and simple to complicated and mind-boggling.
These little 6 by 8 inch pieces just incorporate a little free-form painting in the interior that people really like, and they've been my bread and butter for years. There's lots of people out there that seem to like them a lot, and I've had people tell me they buy these to stick in a window so that birds don't smash into their windows and knock themselves out. This Tree of Life is one of my favorites, and it's different from most of my work because there's absolutely no color. If you take a close look at the trunk, I've used the lead in a sculptural way, which was new for me. And that's the beauty of this work, is that there are no limits on creativity. You don't have to worry about how glass is cut or what kind of stresses the glass will take because of the acrylic I'm using. If you look at the bottom of the roots there, because it's a work that's done on the surface, I can make as many pieces as I want and get as complicated as I want and still get this incredible textural piece without nearly as much work as a glass artist would have to put into that. I do work on mirrors as well, and this piece is called the Tree of Time because what I did here was I did a Celtic knotwork in the lead around the entire oval, around the perimeter of this Tree of Time. And the reason I called it the Tree of Time is because once I did the first few knots, I realized what I'd gotten myself into and that it was going to take me forever to finish it. But I finally finished it, and I'm extremely proud of this piece. I've also incorporated some of my work into some shutters for my home. This one's a summer scene from my favorite spot in the world in North Georgian Bay. And the other one is a winter scene, which allows more light to come through because of so little color used in it. Sabrina Fair is probably my favorite piece of all. I've had her here for a number of years. I've always wanted to do a mermaid, but it was a shampoo commercial, of all things, that finally inspired me to get to work on her. You can see in this piece that I can get amazing effects because my work is painted. It's an advantage of the medium is I can use the lead in a sculptural way as well without it adding a whole lot of weight to the piece. It's surprising how thin that lead actually is when it's on the surface. So lead is heavy and it does add to the weight, but when the lead is so thin and the acrylic is so light, I can do huge pieces and they weigh very little.
Then there are some pieces that are lead-free as the artist explores her vision of water lapping up on a beach. Serenity and joy are the gifts layered in this work of love, both for the artist and her admirers. In looking for the key to her own happiness, Lynette has shared with us a few of the secrets she's found along the way.
I feel like I'm one of the few extremely lucky people in this world who gets to make a living by their creativity. It's like so many people are living in a vicious circle. I'm living in heaven's circle. Like I feel like I'm really blessed.
Well, Lynette certainly is an astute observer, as you said. And tell me again, are those really not stained glass?
Not stained glass, it's acrylic.
Amazing.
Lynette is an amazingly talented outdoorswoman as well as a very gifted painter. Thanks for sharing your time with us.